Hey people, this is BIGBMH's take on Batman Part 4. In my last two videos, I talked about how I take Bruce Wayne to a really dark place in Batman 3 and then tell the story of his recovery. The focus of this video is that recovery and how I go about bringing Bruce back. As you can probably tell from the intro, Dick Grayson plays a really big role in my idea for the story. But before I really get into my ideas for the story, I think I have to defend Dick Grayson as a character, because a lot of people are sort of Robin haters. They think he's just a cheesy, lame character. My view on Robin as a character, Dick Grayson in particular, is that there's a really interesting story there if you tell it properly. The basis people have for Robin as a cheesy character is mostly the 60s series and the Joel Schumacher Batman movies. But if you look at those, Batman's a cheesy character in both of those too. But if you look at the episode Robin's Reckoning from Batman the Animated Series, you can see that it's a really good story. The episode won an Emmy for Batman the Animated Series, and Batman the Animated Series is known for its quality. So, in a series that's known for being good, that episode was pointed out for being especially good, and it focuses on Robin. Also, you can look at the episode of The Batman Matter of Family that is another telling of the Dick Grayson origin story. Now, The Batman is highly regarded as Batman the Animated Series, but that episode too is looked at as one of the best of that series. So clearly there's a good story there for Dick Grayson, and part of that is in his relationship with Batman. So I really think that if you can focus on that and tell it properly, there's a good story there. But before I go on, I want to be perfectly clear. I don't want Robin in Batman 3. I want Dick Grayson in Batman 3. There's a difference. When casting Dick Grayson for this movie, I'd look for somebody pretty young because I think it would work best for the story. The Robin origin story is intentionally very reminiscent of the Batman origin story. They both witnessed the murder of their parents at a very young age and are orphans, so that creates a connection between the two of them. If Robin's a lot older than Bruce was when he lost his parents, then the connection isn't as strong. Bruce is known to be about 8 years old when he loses his parents, and he was portrayed by Gus Lewis in Batman Begins, who was about 12 or 13 years old at the time they filmed it. So if Dick Grayson's something like 17 years old or whatever he was in Batman Forever, then it really doesn't create as strong of a connection. Chris O'Donnell was about 25 when he played Robin in that movie, so I think that's way too old for the beginning of the story. But if they cast an actor who's somewhere from 10 to 13 years old, I think that's perfect for the role. Now, you might be thinking a 10 to 13-year-old really wouldn't fit into this realistic world that Chris Nolan has created as a crime fighter. It's not a funny movie, action like Kick-Ass or something. Chris Nolan has a very believable world, so bringing somebody that young into it as a crime fighter really wouldn't make any sense whatsoever with what has already been established. But I wouldn't make Robin a crime fighter, Dick Grayson become Robin in this movie. I would hint at it at the end of the movie and then just leave it at that. Because really it doesn't make sense for Robin, no matter how old he is, to start fighting crime soon after he comes into Bruce's life. Because Bruce has trained for years to be Batman. You see him at the beginning of Batman Begins, and he's left Gotham City for years. He's been learning so many different skills to be ready to be Batman. So it's not believable for within like a few months some kid is ready to become the sidekick of Batman and not be placed in serious danger. So in the future, if they have a Robin in movies beyond this movie, he should have trained for years. So at the end of this movie, hint that he's going to train for years with Batman before ever even trying to be Batman's partner. Dick Grayson's life has just been struck by tragedy. He's seen his parents killed in front of him. Bruce Wayne has been through a very similar experience, so he can really relate to what Dick is feeling right now. Since Dick has no one else to take care of him, Bruce decides to take him in. He sees himself reflected in Dick, so he feels that he can help him cope with the loss of his parents and not make the same mistakes that he made when he was younger. In Batman Begins, we see Bruce, as a young adult, plotting to kill Joe Chill in revenge for the murder of his parents. With the experience that Bruce has and the lessons he's learned over the years, he can help Dick not to go down that same dark path. In the comics, even when Dick is older as Nightwing, he's not as dark of a character as Bruce is, and I think that it's really a lot due to the fact that he's had Bruce to guide him, whereas Bruce really didn't have anybody to guide him like Dick did. So, what Bruce doesn't realize as he's helping Dick is that he's also helping himself to get over his pain. He'd say to himself that he needs to put aside what he's feeling right now in order to help this kid deal with his pain. Also, this helps to bring back the humanity of Batman. I said earlier that I'd have Bruce throw himself into his role as Batman in an effort to cope with pain. With bringing in Dick kind of gives him somebody else besides Alfred and Lucius Fox to be his friend and family, and brings back his life away from Batman. And as Batman, it also helps to further that story too. To bring in somebody as his student really brings his story full circle from student to master. Batman Begins has him as a learner, the apprentice of Ra's al Ghul, and starting out to be Batman. The Dark Knight has him with more experience, but he's still being tested and learning. At the end of this movie, I think that he should really fully be in the role of Batman. So somewhere along the line, I'd have Bruce reveal to Dick that he is Batman. Inspired by Bruce's example, Dick would ask to become Batman's partner. Bruce would tell him that it's a difficult life and it would take many years, and ask if he's sure that this is what he wants to do. Dick would tell him that he is sure, and in response, Bruce would say the line, "Okay then, are you ready to begin?" This line, "Are you ready to begin?" is a reference to Ra's al Ghul's line to Bruce in Batman Begins when Bruce is about to start his training. And I feel that it's a great way to end the trilogy because it helps to bring Bruce full circle from student to master. It's sort of like in Star Wars Episode 1 where you have Obi-Wan taking on Anakin as his Padawan when Obi-Wan's promoted to Jedi Knight. So in teaching, he is able to learn more about himself. I'm running up against my time limit here, so I'll try to summarize my other part of Bruce's recovery pretty quickly. I think he needs to find a sense of pride in his work as Batman. During the time that he's been Batman, he's really done a lot of good for Gotham City. He hasn't completely fixed things like he hoped he would when he first set out, but he still has a lot to be proud of. I think he should stop looking toward that day when he doesn't have to be Batman anymore. He'll be Batman as long as he can, because helping people really makes his life meaningful. There will eventually come a day when he can't be Batman anymore, and when that day comes, he'll retire knowing that he's made a difference. Well, I think that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. As usual, I've posted a link to my full written article in the description section. Keep an eye out for next video, and that I'll talk about some of the other parts of the story that didn't really fit into some of the other categories. Thanks again for watching, and tune in next time.